The smell hit me first. Pine sol, mixed with something else. Decay, maybe? Or just the slow rot of fope. I gripped my walker's cold metal handles, my knuckles white as bone, while Bryn's heels clicked away down the hallway. Click, 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 like a countdown. "Mom, it's temporary," she'd said 20 minutes ago, not meeting my eyes. "Just until I sort things out." Temporary. That word echoed in my skull as I stood in the doorway of room 247, Sunset Manor Nursing Home. My new address. The fluorescent lights hummed above me, casting everything in that sick, greenish pallor that makes even healthy people look half dead. I shuffled inside. God, when did I start shuffling? And my hips screamed its familiar protest. The room was a box. 2 beds, one already occupied by a woman who stared at the ceiling like she was watching her own memories play out up there. A small TV mounted too high on the wall. A window overlooking the parking lot where Bryn's Mercedes was probably already gone. Don't cry. Don't you dare cry, Victoria. But my hand shook as I lowered myself onto the bed, the mattress crinkling with plastic beneath thin sheets. 68 years old. And this is where I landed. In a place that reeked of industrial cleaning products trying to mask the smell of people giving up. The envelope sat on the nightstand, my name written in Bryn's perfect script. I'd watched her place it there, watched her avoid looking at me, watched her check her phone 3 times in 2 minutes. My fingers trembled as I tore it open. "Mom, I know this is hard, but I can't do this anymore. The house, the bills, your care, it's too much. This place has good ratings. I've prepaid for 6 months. Please understand, I won't be coming back. B." The paper slipped from my fingers. Won't be coming back. My daughter, my only child, the baby I held through colic and fevers and nightmares. She dumped me here like old furniture. That's when I noticed it. The small black dome in the corner where the walls met the ceiling. At first I thought, smoke detector? But no. The red light blinked steadily, and when I squinted, I could make out the lens. A camera. They were watching me. My skin crawled. I stood too fast and my knee buckled, damn arthritis, sending me grabbing for the bed rail. The woman in the next bed didn't even flinch. How long had she been here? How long before I became like her, staring at nothing while strangers watched through cameras? "Mrs. Chen?" A nurse appeared in the doorway, all false brightness and tired eyes. "I'm Kaida. I'll be your evening nurse. How are we settling in?" We, like this was some kind of team effort. "There's a camera," I said, pointing with a shaking finger. Kaida's smile tightened. "For your safety, Mrs. Chen. All our rooms have them. Now, have you taken your medications today?" Safety. Right. But safe from what? Or was it safe from whom? The red light blinked again, and I swear I saw it adjust its angle. Just slightly. Just enough to follow me as I moved. First, I need to say thank you. The fact that you're here, that you're watching, that you're giving time and your attention, it means more than I can explain. This channel only exists because of you. And when you subscribe, you're not just adding a number. You're becoming part of this circle that keeps these stories breathing and alive. And here's what really moves me the most. When you drop a comment, sharing where you're watching from, I go through them and honestly, it's like watching the story itself travel, jumping from city to city, from one country to the next. It's proof that Victoria's voice doesn't get stuck in a single room with a blinking red light. It reaches you. So go ahead, type your corner of the world below. I'd love to see how far this story has made it. And truthfully, it gives me strength, knowing we're connected across the map.
3 weeks. That's how long it took for the numbness to wear off and the anger to set in. I learned the rhythms of Sunset Manor like a prisoner memorizing guard rotations. Breakfast at 7, lukewarm oatmeal that tasted like wallpaper paste, pills at 8. Kaida always watched me swallow them, her dark eyes kind but tired. Physical therapy at 10, where I pretended my hip hurt worse than it did because sympathy meant 5 extra minutes of human contact. "You're getting stronger, Mrs. Chen," Kaida said one morning, adjusting my compression socks. Her hands were gentle, practiced. She was maybe 35, with a slight accent I couldn't place. "Your daughter must be proud." I almost laughed. Almost. "She's busy," I said instead, "running her company." That was the story I'd crafted. Not abandoned, just temporarily set aside. Like old china you pack away but might need someday. The woman in the bed next to me, Dorothy, I'd learned, hadn't spoken once. She took her pills, ate her meals, stared at her ceiling. Sometimes her son visited. He'd sit for exactly 15 minutes, scrolling his phone, then kiss her forehead and leave. I wondered if Bren would even do that much. Then I saw it on the news. The TV in the common room was always too loud, competing with Mr. Jameson's oxygen machine and the endless beeping of call buttons. But there was Bryn, my Bryn, shaking hands with someone at a ribbon-cutting ceremony. The banner behind her read, "Aurora Inc., Pharmaceutical Division Grand Opening." Pharmaceutical division? Since when did Brent's consulting firm have anything to do with medications? "Turn it up," I said to the aide. But the segment had already ended. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Aurora Inc. The name felt familiar, like a word on the tip of my tongue. I'd seen it somewhere before, maybe on paperwork Brent had left around the house. No, that wasn't right. Somewhere else, somewhere recent. The next morning, I overheard 2 nurses talking by the medication cart. "Another one," the first one said, "Mrs. Patterson in 205. That's the 3rd this month." "Which med was she on?" "The new pain management protocol, the one from—" She lowered her voice, but I caught it anyway. "Aurora." My blood chilled. I glanced at my own pill cup, white tablets I'd been swallowing without question. The nurse noticed me looking. "Morning medications, Mrs. Chen," she said brightly, too brightly, "for your arthritis." But my arthritis never required medication before, just ice packs and stubbornness. I palmed one of the pills instead of swallowing it, coughing to cover the deception. Later in the bathroom, I examined it. No markings, nothing to identify it, but when I crushed a tiny corner between my fingers, it had an odd, bitter smell that made my nose burn. That afternoon, I shuffled past the nurse's station. God, I hated that shuffle, but it made me invisible, and caught a glimpse of a delivery manifest. Aurora Inc. was stamped across the top. Below it, a list of medications I couldn't pronounce. But one notation stood out: Experimental Protocol 7A, Nursing Home Trial. Trial! We were test subjects. My daughter hadn't just abandoned me, she'd made me a lab rat. The rage that flooded through me was so pure, so clean, it almost felt like joy. Finally something other than self-pity, finally a reason that made sense. This wasn't about money or convenience or her being too busy. This was about business. But why? What was Bryn getting out of this? That night, I found a letter slipped under my pillow. Not Bryn's handwriting, someone else's. Shaky, like whoever wrote it was afraid or sick or both. "They're watching more than you think. The red lights aren't just cameras. Check your pills. Don't trust the water. Room 205 knew too much." Room 205. Mrs. Patterson, the 3rd one this month. I looked up at the camera in the corner. The red light blinked steadily, but now I noticed something else. A faint hum, almost below hearing, like it was doing more than just watching. Like it was listening. My hands shook as I tucked the letter into my bra, the only place I knew they wouldn't check. Tomorrow, I'd find out who wrote it. Tomorrow, I'd start getting answers. But tonight, I lay in my narrow bed, listening to Dorothy's labored breathing and the distant sound of someone crying down the hall, and I wondered how many of us had Bryn sent here, and how many of us would make it out alive.
The letter came on a Thursday, not slipped under my pillow this time. Too risky after Mrs. Patterson. No, this one arrived with the morning mail, looking official enough that nobody questioned it. Estate of Harold Chen, the envelope read. Final notice. My hands trembled as I tore it open in the bathroom, the only place without cameras. Inside, a single paragraph that made my knees buckle. Due to recent changes in beneficiary status, all assets previously designated to Victoria Chen have been transferred to Bryn Chen, effective immediately. This includes the house at 42 Maple Drive, all investment accounts, and the life insurance policy. No further action is required on your part. No further action. Like I was already dead. I sank onto the toilet seat, the letter crumpling in my fist. 43 years of marriage, 20 years of widowhood, and everything Harold and I built, gone. Signed away while I rotted in this place. But how? I hadn't signed anything. Unless the pills. Those unmarked white pills I'd been palming and flushing. What if the ones I did take, those first few weeks when I was too broken to question anything, what if they had made me sign things, made me forget? A knock rattled the door. "Mrs. Chen, you all right in there?" Kaida. Always Kaida, checking on me. "Fine," I called back, shoving the letter into my bra with the other one. "Just stomach troubles. I'll get you something for that." No more pills, no more anything they wanted to give me. When I emerged, Kaida was waiting with concern etched across her face. Real concern, not the plastic kind most of the staff wore. She touched my elbow gently. "You look pale. Let me check your blood pressure." I said I'm fine. But she was already guiding me to the nurse's station, and I was too shaky to resist. As she wrapped the cuff around my arm, I noticed her badge for the first time. Really noticed it. Kaida Volkov, RN, and below that, in smaller print, Aurora Inc., Employee ID 7429. They all worked for Aurora, every last one of them. "Your pressure is elevated," Kaida murmured. "Have you been taking your medications?" I met her eyes, searched them for some sign of guilt, of knowledge, found only that same tired kindness. "Every last one," I lied. That afternoon, I watched Bryn on the common room TV again. Another news segment, this time about Aurora's revolutionary senior care initiatives. She wore a cream-colored suit that cost more than most people's cars, her hair perfect, her smile camera-ready. "We're not just providing medication," she told the reporter. "We're providing hope for families struggling with the burden of elder care." Burden. She called me a burden on live television. Mr. Okonkwo, slumped in the wheelchair next to mine, made a sound, half laugh, half sob. My son said the same thing. Burden. Like we chose to get old. I wanted to comfort him, but what could I say? That it gets better? That our children would remember they loved us? The lies would taste like ash. That night, unable to sleep, I crept down the hallway. My hips screamed with every step, but I learned to move through the pain. Room 205 was empty now.
stripped bare, the mattress still bearing the indent of Mrs. Patterson's body. But there, taped under the bed frame, another envelope. My name wasn't on it. The name was Margaret Sinclair, room 819. But inside, the message was clearly meant for whoever found it. Aurora Inc. isn't just any pharmaceutical company. It's a subsidiary of Blackwood Industries. Julian Blackwood owns this place, owns dozens like it. Your daughter isn't just profiting from the drugs, she's recruiting. Every family member who signs their elderly relative into an Aurora-affiliated facility gets a finder's fee. The sicker we get, the more they make. The experimental drugs ensure we don't last long enough to be a real burden. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. But maybe you can stop them. Check the basement. Old medical records from the first trials. They didn't destroy everything. Margaret Sinclair. I'd heard that name whispered by the night staff. Another one who passed peacefully in her sleep. Finder's fee. Bryn had sold me, literally sold me to this place. The rage was back, but colder now. Crystallized into something harder than anger, something that could sustain me. I made it back to my room just as the night nurse started rounds, slipped into bed, clutched the letters against my chest, and stared at that blinking red light. Julian Blackwood. I knew that name, too. Harold had mentioned him once, years ago. Something about a lawsuit, a business deal gone wrong. But Harold was gone, and his papers were in the house I no longer owned. Unless the safety deposit box. Harold had insisted on keeping one, even though I'd called it paranoid. Bank of Chester, box 447. I still wore the key on a chain around my neck, hidden under my nightgown. Too small for anyone to notice, too precious to leave behind. Tomorrow, I'd find a way out of here. Just for a few hours. Just long enough to see what Harold had hidden away. Because if Bryn thought I'd go quietly, if she thought I'd swallow my pills and fade away like the others, she'd forgotten who raised her. She'd forgotten that before I was old, before I was a burden, I was the woman who'd fought off bankruptcy, who'd buried a husband and kept going, who'd built a life from nothing. And I wasn't done fighting yet. The camera hummed in the corner. Left them watch. Let them think I was just another confused old woman shuffling toward death. They'd learn different soon enough. Getting out was easier than I thought, harder than I hoped. Doctor's appointment, I told Kaida, waving the forged paperwork I'd cobbled together from the trash. Podiatrist, for the foot thing. She barely glanced at it. Too many patients, too few staff. Aurora Inc. counted on that chaos. The taxi driver, a young Haitian man named Claude, helped me into the back seat. My hip locked up halfway and I bit back a scream. Bank of Chester, downtown branch. 20 minutes of freedom. That's all I had before they'd notice. The safety deposit box was exactly as Harold left it. Legal documents, some cash, and there, a manila folder marked Blackwood Keep. My hand shook as I opened it. Newspaper clippings, photos. Harold had been building a case. 12 dead in Havenwood Senior Facility fire, dated 3 years ago. The grainy photo showed a building's burnt skeleton, but it was the second clipping that made my blood freeze. Havenwood pharmaceutical trial under investigation. And there, in the list of board members, Bryn Chen, recently appointed Director of Senior Care Initiatives. 3 years ago. She had been planning this for 3 years. I stuffed everything into my purse, my fingers clumsy with rage. The bank's fluorescent lights seemed too bright suddenly, the walls too close. I needed air. I needed... Mrs. Chen? I spun around. A man in an expensive suit stood behind me, his smile sharp as winter. I'm James Fitzgerald, Aurora Inc.'s legal counsel. Your daughter asked me to check on you. My daughter. Like Bryn cared about anything but her finder's fee. I'm fine, I said, clutching my purse tighter.
Of course.
But perhaps I should drive you back. That taxi driver seemed unreliable. Unreliable. Code for not on Aurora's payroll. I have other errands, I lied. His smile never wavered. I'll wait. But I was already moving, my shuffle abandoned for something closer to a run. Pain shot up my leg with every step. Behind me, Fitzgerald's footsteps echoed on marble. I burst out of the bank into blinding sunlight. Claude's taxi was gone. Of course it was. But across the street, a bus stop, a crowd of people. I merged with them, keeping my head down, and when the bus arrived, I climbed on. Didn't matter where it went. Away was enough. Fitzgerald didn't follow, but as the bus pulled away, I saw him on his phone, his face no longer smiling. I rode for an hour, transferring twice, before calling the one person who might help. My nephew. Marcus, Harold's sister's boy. He'd always been the black sheep, the one who asked uncomfortable questions at family dinners. Aunt Vicky? His voice crackled through the phone. Bryn said you were indisposed. Bryn lied. Marcus, I need help. Can you pick me up? Silence. Then, where? We met at a diner off Route 9. Marcus looked older, grayer, but his eyes were still sharp. I slid the folder across the table. Jesus, he breathed after scanning the clippings. Aunt Vicky, this is... Do you know what you're saying? That my daughter sold me to a company that's killing old people for profit? Yes. He rubbed his face. There's more. I've been tracking Aurora's acquisitions. They don't just own nursing homes. They own the companies that inspect them, the medical boards that oversee them, even some of the local judges. My coffee turned to acid in my stomach. How deep does this go? Deep enough that you shouldn't be here. They'll know you left. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and paled. What? I asked. Amber Alert, he said slowly, for a confused elderly woman who wandered away from Sunset Manor, possibly dangerous to herself and others. He showed me the screen. My face stared back, but it was the description that chilled me. Suffers from severe dementia and paranoid delusions. Dementia. They were already rewriting my story. You have to go back, Marcus said. If the police find you, they'll return me to Sunset Manor, where I'll have an accident, or suddenly develop actual dementia from their pills. I grabbed his hand. Marcus, there's something else. In Bryn's will, there's a clause. Something about Aurora and inheritance. I need to know what it says. He squeezed back. I'll look into it, but Aunt Vicky, you can't fight them alone. I'm not alone. There are others inside, other families asking questions. I thought of Mr. Okonkwo, of the whispered conversations in corners. We just need proof. The basement, Marcus said suddenly. You mentioned medical records in the basement. If I could get in... No. The word came out sharper than intended. It's too dangerous. But there might be another way. The night staff, some of them know things. They're scared, but they know. Marcus drove me back, taking side roads, avoiding cameras. As Sunset Manor loomed into view, my chest tightened. The building looked different now. Not just a prison, a laboratory. And I was going back inside voluntarily. 2 days, Marcus promised. I'll have answers about the will in 2 days. But as I walked through those doors, as Kaida rushed over with relief and disappointment warring on her face, I wondered if I had 2 days left. Because in the common room, watching me with cold calculation, sat James Fitzgerald, still smiling, still waiting. And next to him, a doctor I'd never seen before, preparing a syringe.
Mrs. Chen, this is Dr. Reginald Ashford,
Fitzgerald's voice slithered across the common room. "He's here to help with your confusion." The syringe gleamed under fluorescent lights. Clear liquid, no markings. "I'm not confused," I said, but my voice cracked. Kaida stood frozen by the medication cart, her knuckles white against the metal. "The Amber Alert says otherwise." Dr. Ashford approached slowly, like I was a spooked animal. "This will help calm you, make things clearer." Clearer? Like Mrs. Patterson's clarity? Like Margaret Sinclair's peaceful sleep? "No!" I backed away, my hips screaming. "I want to call my lawyer." "You don't have a lawyer, Mrs. Chen. You signed power of attorney over to your daughter 3 weeks ago. Don't you remember?" I didn't. But then I wouldn't, would I? Not if they drugged me into signing. "Kaida," I pleaded. She looked away. That's when Mr. Okonkwo rolled forward in his wheelchair. "Leave her be," he said quietly. "She's had a hard day." "Sir, this doesn't concern you." Dr. Ashford's tone sharpened. "Everything in this place concerns me," Okonkwo's voice carried surprising strength. "I've seen too many hard days turn into last days." Other residents began gathering. Mrs. Delacroix from 251, Mr. Nguyen from the East Wing, even Dorothy, silent Dorothy, had turned to watch. "This is highly irregular," Fitzgerald muttered. "So is forcing medication on alert patients," said a voice from the doorway. A young nurse I'd never seen before, badge reading Luz Morales, RN, stepped forward. "Hospital policy requires consent forms for any new medications. Where are Mrs. Chen's forms?" Dr. Ashford's jaw tightened. "Nurse Morales, you're new here. Perhaps you don't understand how we—" "I understand perfectly." Luz moved between me and the doctor. "I also understand that administering unrequested sedatives could cost you your license." The standoff stretched taut. Then Fitzgerald smiled, that sharp winter smile. "Of course, we'll return with proper documentation." They left, but the threat lingered like smoke. "Thank you," I whispered to Luz. "Don't thank me yet." She glanced at the cameras. "They'll be back. And next time, they'll be prepared." That night, Luz slipped into my room during shift change. "I can't stay long, but you need to know I'm not the only one asking questions. Some of us have been documenting things, unexplained deaths, medication errors that aren't errors, patients who complain suddenly getting worse. Why haven't you gone to the authorities?" Her laugh was bitter. "Which authorities? The ones Aurora owns? The medical board they bought? We need evidence they can't bury." The basement. I mentioned Margaret Sinclair's old records. Destroyed. Right after you left today, maintenance crew came through, industrial shredders. But I saved some files from the computer system before they wiped it. Patient records, medication logs, financial transactions. My hands trembled as I took it. This could get us all killed, yes. She stood to leave. "There's something else. Your daughter was here yesterday early morning, before your escape. She met with Fitzgerald in the administrator's office for 2 hours. Yesterday, while I was planning my pathetic bank run, Bryn was tightening the noose. What did they discuss? I don't know. But after she left, Fitzgerald made calls, mentioned something about accelerating the timeline and phase 2. Phase 2. My stomach clenched. After Luz left, I couldn't sleep. The flash drive felt like it was burning a hole in my pillowcase. Every footstep in the hall made me freeze. Every shadow could be Dr. Ashford returning. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. Marcus. Texting from a burner number. Found the will clause. You need to see this. Bryn doesn't just get your assets if you die. She gets a massive payout from Aurora if you die within their care. 8 figures. But only if death occurs on their property. 8 figures. My death was worth 8 figures to my daughter. I was still processing when the second text came. There's more. Similar clauses for dozens of families. It's not just finder's fees, it's bounties. The sicker the patient, the bigger the payout. Your pre-existing conditions make you premium tier. Premium tier. Like cattle grades. The phone buzzed again. Get out, now, whatever it takes. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not without the others who'd stood up for me today. Not without exposing this whole diseased system. I crept to Dorothy's bed. She was awake, staring at her ceiling as always. I know you can hear me, I whispered. I know you're not gone, just trapped, like all of us. Her eyes shifted, met mine, and for the first time in weeks, Dorothy spoke. They killed my husband here, made it look natural, heart failure. Her voice was rust on metal. I stayed quiet because they threatened my grandchildren, but if you're fighting, I'm done being quiet. By dawn, we had a plan. Fragile, desperate, probably doomed, but it was something. Kaida found me in the bathroom again, this time genuinely sick from stress. As she held my hair back, she whispered, I can help openly, but the medication cart? Sometimes I'm careless with the keys, especially during the 10 a.m. shift change. 10 a.m. 4 hours to prepare for war against my own daughter. I looked in the mirror, 68 years old, abandoned, betrayed, worth more dead than alive, but still breathing, still fighting, and now no longer alone. The breakfast bell rang. Time to pretend everything was normal. Time to swallow fake pills and smile at murderers. Time to survive until 10 a.m. But as I shuffled toward the dining room, I saw something that made my blood freeze. Bryn's Mercedes in the parking lot? At 6 a.m. She never came this early, unless... Mom? Her voice behind me. We need to talk about your future.
Hello, Mom. Bryn's heels clicked against linoleum as she approached. Designer suit, perfect makeup, dead eyes. We need to talk about your future, she repeated, guiding me toward a private room. Her grip on my elbow, firm, possessive, like handling merchandise. The room smelled of disinfectant and lies. She closed the door, and I noticed her hands shaking, just slightly. Fear? Excitement? I know what you did yesterday, she began. The bank, meeting Marcus, very disappointing. Not as disappointing as selling your mother for money. She flinched. You don't understand. 8 figures, Bryn. That's what I'm worth dead. Her face went pale, then red. How did you... Marcus, of course. She laughed, brittle as old bones. You always did favor him. He never tried to kill me. Kill you? She leaned forward. Mom, I'm trying to save you. Do you have any idea what Julian Blackwood is capable of? What he does to people who cross him? Julian Blackwood. There it was again. You're afraid of him, I said slowly. Everyone with sense is afraid of him. Her composure cracked. 3 years ago, I made a mistake, invested company funds in what I thought was a sure thing. Lost everything. Blackwood bought my debt. Bought me. So you sold me instead. No!
She slammed her hand on the table. I placed you here to protect you. The contract. Yes, there's money if residents pass away, but only if they die naturally. The experimental drugs, they're not poison, Mom. They're placebos, sugar pills. My world tilted. But Mrs. Patterson had stage 4 cancer. Margaret Sinclair had heart disease. I checked every resident's medical history before placing them, only those already dying. Her voice broke. I'm not a monster. I'm just trapped. The fire at Havenwood was Blackwood Cleaning House. The administrator there tried to expose the operation. 30 people died because one man grew a conscience. She pulled out her phone, showed me a photo. A young girl, maybe 6. This is Mia, my daughter. Daughter. The word hit like ice water. You never told me. Because Blackwood owns her too. Private school in Switzerland. Bodyguards he pays. One word from him and she disappears. Tears ran down her perfect makeup. Every elderly person I place, every contract I sign, keeps her safe another month. My granddaughter, hidden away like a shameful secret? Why not go to the police? With what evidence? Blackwood owns judges, prosecutors, entire precincts. The few who tried to expose him, she swiped to another photo. News article. Murder-suicide. Car accident. Overdose. All within weeks of speaking out. I stared at my daughter, really looked at her. The exhaustion beneath the makeup, the tremor in her hands, the way she kept glancing at the door like something might burst through. There's more, she whispered. The residents who've died, Blackwood harvests their identities, social security numbers, Medicare accounts, pension access. The elderly are gold mines of government benefits. He keeps collecting for years after they're gone. That's why the cameras, the monitoring, to ensure no one lives too long. But I've been protecting you, Mom, marking your file as high-risk litigation. It's kept them from accelerating your timeline. Accelerating. Like I was a business projection. But something's changed, I said. Fitzgerald, the doctor? Blackwood's patience ran out. He knows I've been stalling, knows I've been moving money, trying to buy Mia's freedom. She gripped my hands. There's a way out, for both of us.
What do you mean? She pulled out a thick envelope. Blackwood's empire runs on fear and secrets, but I've been collecting evidence. 3 years' worth. Account numbers, murder lists, the whole network. She pressed it into my hands. There's a federal prosecutor in Philadelphia, Amara Okafor. She's clean. Blackwood couldn't buy her. Take this to her. Why don't you? Because I'm watched every second. But you're just a confused old woman who wandered off. They'll follow me when I leave, not you. The envelope felt heavy as a gravestone. What about Mia? Marcus knows where she is. If something happens to me, he'll get her. Her voice steadied. But nothing will happen if we move fast. The 10 a.m. medication cart. Kaida has already agreed to help. During the chaos, you slip out. Marcus will be waiting. You knew about our plan? I know everything that happens here. It's the only way I've kept you alive. She stood, smoothing her skirt. I need to make a scene now. Yell at you, storm out, make them think we're enemies. Aren't we? She paused at the door. I betrayed you, Mom. Lied, manipulated, used you as a pawn. But everything was to keep Mia safe, to keep you breathing until I could find a way out. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry isn't enough, I know that. But maybe justice is. Then she transformed. Face hardening, voice rising. You're delusional, paranoid. This is exactly why you need to be here. She yanked open the door. Dr. Ashford was right. Increase her medications. She stormed out, leaving me clutching evidence that could destroy an empire. Or get us all killed. I made it back to my room, mind reeling. Dorothy was sitting up, actually sitting up, talking quietly with Mr. Okonkwo. They fell silent when I entered. "Change of plans," I whispered, showing them the envelope. "This is bigger than we thought." Dorothy's eyes widened as I explained. Okonkwo whistled low. "Corporate murder, identity theft, and your daughter is either the best actress I've ever seen or we've all been played." I tucked the envelope under my mattress. "Either way, at 10 a.m., I'm leaving, with or without her help." "We're coming too," Dorothy said firmly. "Whatever's in that envelope, they'll kill everyone who knows about it." She was right. By helping me, by standing up in the common room, they'd painted targets on themselves. "There's a bus," Okonkwo said, "the senior center shuttle. Comes at 10:15. We could all board." They'd stop a group. I thought fast, but if we stagger it, create multiple distractions. A shadow fell across the doorway. Kaida stood there, face grave. "There's a problem. Dr. Ashford just called an emergency staff meeting, 10 a.m., all hands, including me." My heart sunk. Without Kaida, without the medication cart distraction. "But," Kaida continued, "Luis Morales isn't invited. Night shift doesn't do morning meetings." She pressed something into my palm. A key. "Supply closet, 3rd floor. There's a service elevator that opens to the loading dock. Louise will be waiting." 10 a.m. Everything hinged on 10 a.m. But as Kaida left, I noticed something that made my blood freeze. The red light on the camera, it wasn't blinking steadily anymore. It was moving, tracking, following our every whisper. Someone was watching. Someone who'd heard everything.
9:47 a.m. 13 minutes. The camera's red eye followed me as I dressed, hands shaking with each button. The envelope hidden in my bra felt like it was burning through fabric. Dorothy and Okonkwo were already in position, she in the common room, ready to fake a seizure, he near the fire alarm, arthritis be damned. But that tracking camera? Someone knew. 9:52 a.m. I shuffled toward the 3rd floor, each step calculated. Normal pace, normal breathing, even as my heart hammered against ribs that felt too fragile for this fight. The hallway stretched empty. Too empty. Where was the usual morning chaos? The medication carts, the... "Going somewhere, Mrs. Chen?" Fitzgerald stepped out from a doorway, that winter smile sharper than ever. Behind him, Dr. Ashford. And behind them both, "Hello, Mom." Bryn. But not the desperate woman from this morning. This Bryn stood tall, composed, cold as the marble in that bank. "Brilliant performance earlier," Fitzgerald said. "Almost had me convinced. But you forgot one thing. We record everything, even private family meetings." The envelope. They knew about the envelope. "Where is it?" Bryn's voice was flat, professional. "The evidence I supposedly gave you." I backed against the wall. "I don't..." "Stop." She stepped closer. "Do you know what you've cost me? 3 years of perfect execution, and you had to develop a conscience, had to start asking questions." "Mia," I whispered, "your daughter doesn't exist." Her laugh was poison. "God, you really bought that? A hidden granddaughter? Secret bodyguards? I played you better than I thought." The world tilted, crashed, shattered. "But the photo..." "Stock image, $12 on a website." She shook her head. "You always were too eager to forgive, too ready to believe I was good underneath it all." Dr. Ashford checked his watch. 9:56. "We should move this along." "The real evidence," Bryn continued, "the files I've actually been collecting, they're not about Blackwood.
They're about you. Every confused moment, every medication you palmed, every paranoid accusation. She pulled out a tablet, showed me video after video, me talking to walls, me hiding pills, me scrambling through trash for evidence. Except I remembered those moments differently. The walls had people. The pills were real. The trash contained amazing what editing can do, Fitzgerald said. By the time we're done, you'll be the perfect example of why Aurora's enhanced care protocols are necessary. The dangerous dementia patient who nearly hurt others with her delusions. Others saw who? Dorothy Kowalski? The woman who hasn't spoken in months, according to our records? Bryn swiped to another file. Taiwo Okonkwo, the man with documented Alzheimer's who thinks it's still 1987? Lies. All lies. But who would believe us over official medical records? The nurse, I said desperately. Luz Morales. Doesn't exist. Dr. Ashford smiled. Check the employee database. No one by that name has ever worked here.
My knees buckled. The key in my pocket? Worthless. The plan? Dead. Everyone who tried to help. A fire alarm shrieked through the building. 10 a.m. Okonkwo had pulled it. Ignore it, Fitzgerald commanded. False alarm, the staff knows. But procedures were procedures. Doors automatically unlocked. Emergency lights flashed. And somewhere below, Dorothy would be performing the seizure of her life. I ran. Not shuffled, not limped. Ran like my life depended on it because it did. Behind me, Bryn shouted orders. Ahead, the stairwell beckoned. My hip screamed, my knee buckled, but I kept moving, clutching the envelope that might be worthless or might be everything. Third floor to second, second to first, following exit signs and desperation. Lockdown initiated, the automated voice boomed, all exits sealed. No. No, no, no. I slammed into the loading dock door, locked. Of course it was locked. This was never about escape. It was about containment, Bryn said behind me. She wasn't even breathing hard. Did you really think I'd let you leave with evidence? Real or fake? I turned, back against cold metal. The others, Dorothy, Okonkwo, will be sedated and transferred to our secure wing. Don't worry, they'll be well cared for, right until their natural deaths. She emphasized the last two words, which, given their conditions, should be soon. You're a monster. I'm a businesswoman, and you're a liability. Dr. Ashford appeared, syringe ready, the same clear liquid, the same unmarked death. Wait, Fitzgerald held up a hand. The envelope first. We need to know if she made copies. I clutched it tighter. My only bargaining chip, even if it was blank paper. Give it to me, Mom, Bryn's voice softened. Make this easier on yourself. The injection doesn't hurt. Just sleep. Just peace. Peace? Like Mrs. Patterson's peace? Like Margaret Sinclair's? You killed them all. Blackwood killed them. I just facilitated. She stepped closer. The envelope. Now. I looked at my daughter. Really looked. Searched for any trace of the baby I'd raised, the child who'd clung to me during thunderstorms, the teenager who cried over broken hearts. Gone. All of it gone. You want it? I held up the envelope. Come get it. And I ate it. Tore into it with teeth that had chewed through tougher things than paper, ripped and swallowed while they stood frozen in shock. The taste was bitter, ink and desperation, but I kept going, destroying whatever evidence might have existed. Stop her! Bryn lunged forward. I dodged, but my body betrayed me. That damned hip gave out, sending me crashing to concrete. The remaining papers scattered.
And I saw they weren't blank.
Account numbers, names, dates, real evidence, just like she'd promised. But mixed with it, photos, not a fictional Mia, of Bryn, with Julian Blackwood, dating back 5 years. You were never trapped, I gasped. You're not his victim. You're his partner. She picked up a photo, smiled at it. Junior partner, technically, but after today's success, full equity. She crouched beside me. You know what your problem is, Mom? You always underestimated me. Always thought I needed protecting, saving, like I was still that scared little girl. You were never scared, I realized. Not even as a child. You were smart, focused, willing to do what others wouldn't. She stood. Dr. Ashford, proceed. He knelt beside me, needle-finding vein with practiced ease. This will be quick. But as the plunger descended, another alarm shrieked, not fire this time. Police sirens, multiple units. Bryn's face went white. How? I whispered, vision already blurring. Marcus told him if I didn't call by 10:15, you clever bitch. But she was already moving, Fitzgerald beside her. Destroy everything, wipe the servers. We have protocols for this. They ran, leaving me with Dr. Ashford and a needle half emptied into my arm. Finish it, I told him. If you're going to kill me, finish it. He looked at the syringe, at me, at the door where sirens grew louder. I'm just a doctor, he said quietly. I took an oath. You broke it the moment you walked in here. His hand trembled. They have my son, my ex-wife. Blackwood owns the judge who gave her custody. If I don't, then don't. The drugs were working. Everything felt distant, soft. Be the doctor you were. Save one person. Just one. He stared at me for an eternal moment. Then pulled out the needle. This will hurt, he said, producing another syringe. Adrenaline, to counter the sedative. Stay awake. Tell them everything. The injection burned like fire, shocking my system. But as clarity returned, I heard the most beautiful sound. Police! Open up! Dr. Ashford ran. I lay on cold concrete, heart hammering, evidence scattered around me like fallen leaves, some eaten, some whole, all real. But as boots thundered closer, one thought consumed me. Bryn was gone, and she had a 5-minute head start. 6 months later, I still wake up at 7 a.m. Still expect lukewarm oatmeal and the smell of pine sol. Instead, I get Marcus's coffee and the sound of prosecutors preparing for trial. Aunt Vicky, you need to see this. He handed me the morning paper, front page. Aurora pharmaceutical executive found dead in Swiss hotel. Dr. Ashford, apparent suicide, 2 days before he was scheduled to testify. That's 14 now, Marcus said quietly. 14 witnesses gone. I set down my coffee, hand steady now. The tremor had stopped the day I decided to fight back. But not me. Not yet. We didn't talk about the attempts, the brake lines, the gas leak, the stranger who had followed me through 3 grocery stores before federal marshals intervened. Blackwood's reach was long, but I had become too public to kill quietly. The trial was a circus. Every news outlet wanted the story of the grandmother who'd brought down a pharmaceutical empire. They called me brave, heroic. They didn't see me throwing up before each testimony, didn't hear me calling Bryn's name in my sleep, still hoping my daughter would walk through the door and tell me it was all a mistake. She never did. They found her car at the Canadian border. Empty. Clean. Professional. She's gone, the lead prosecutor, Amara Okafor, had told me. New identity, new country,
With Blackwood's resources, she could be anyone, anywhere. But they'd frozen the accounts, seized the facilities, freed the residents. Dorothy testified via video link. She'd moved to her son's house in Oregon. Okonkwo wrote letters of support from his granddaughter's home in Atlanta. Even Kaida, the real Kaida, came forward. Turns out she'd been documenting everything too, building her own case. We saved 43 facilities, over 6,000 residents, because you wouldn't stop fighting. 6,000. But I couldn't stop thinking about the ones we'd lost. Mrs. Patterson, Margaret Sinclair, all the others whose names I'd never learned. The settlement was enormous, enough to buy back my house, pay for real care, live comfortably. Blood money, every cent. I donated most of it, created the Patterson Sinclair Foundation for Elder Protection. Marcus runs it now, investigating nursing homes, advocating for residents' rights. We've shut down 12 facilities in 6 months, found 3 more Blackwood operations. But Blackwood himself? Like Bryn, he vanished the night of the raid. Sometimes I get letters. No return address, no signature, just photos. Bryn at a cafe in Prague. Bryn boarding a yacht in Monaco. Bryn shaking hands with men in expensive suits. Building another empire. Finding new victims. The FBI says they're fake, psychological warfare. But I know my daughter's hands, the way she holds her shoulders, the tilt of her head when she's planning something. She's out there, watching, waiting. Last week I found something else, hidden in Harold's old papers, the ones I'd finally gotten back from the house. A letter he'd never sent, dated a month before his death. Vicky, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I've been investigating Blackwood for years. He's more dangerous than you know, but so is Bryn. I found records, psychiatric evaluations from when she was 12. The doctor said, God, I couldn't tell you, couldn't break your heart, but she's not what you think. She's never was. Be careful, be ready. She'll come for you eventually. They always return to finish what they started. 12 years old, already diagnosed with... I couldn't read the rest, wouldn't. But now I understood why Harold had insisted on that safety deposit box, why he'd kept those files. He'd been protecting me from our own daughter. Tonight, Marcus is at a conference. I'm alone in my new apartment, smaller than the old house, but mine. Security system armed, marshals doing rounds. But as I write this, I keep glancing at the window, at shadows that move too deliberately, at cars that idle too long. Because yesterday, I got a new letter. Not a photo this time. An invitation. Mom, it's time we finish this properly. You cost me everything. My partner, my empire, my identity. But I'm building something new, something better, and I want you to see it, to understand what you created. Tomorrow, Chester Memorial Park, where Dad is buried. Come alone or don't come at all. We have so much to discuss. B. The FBI says it's a trap. Marcus begged me not to go. Even Amara, usually so composed, grabbed my hands and said, "She'll kill you." Maybe. But I'm going anyway. Because I need to know if any part of my daughter still exists, if there was ever a moment when I could have saved her, if Harold's letter was right, and the monster was always there, wearing the face of my child. Tomorrow, at my husband's grave, I'll face what I created, or what created itself. If you're watching or listening to this, it means I uploaded it to Marcus's foundation website. It means I wanted the truth out there, whatever happens. And if I don't add an update within 48 hours, you'll know how the story ends. But tonight, I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping that somewhere in the woman who sold me for profit, a trace of the daughter I loved survives.
Even monsters were children once, weren't they?